right, welcome back. Our next guest is at the head of the first nationwide study of Black girlhood in Canada, and she's here to tell us all about it.
She's an assistant professor at Toronto Metropolitan University with over 15 years of research and teaching experience in social justice education. We'd like to welcome Kisha McPherson to the social.
Thank you so much for having me.
So Kisha, you and your colleagues, you are the first to really dig into the reality of being a Black girl in Canada. So what exactly are you trying to figure out?
Yeah, so with working with my colleagues, I just want to mention Dr. Desiree De Jesus out of York University and Crystal Webster from UBC. We were working together to try to sort of figure out where we are with a sense of belonging, specifically for Black girls. Thinking about myself as being born and raised in Canada, I was really thinking about it as like an ethnographic study, like putting myself in there. I wanted to see if there was a change in context to how Black girls see themselves as part of this country and how they begin to think about concepts around belonging and see themselves as a part of the Canadian fabric. We're often asked the question, where are you really from?
Yep.
Right? Which is like really sort of separating us from a sense of Canadianness. And so my questions was really around how much is that changing? And when, you know, thinking about 2025 and so many different, you know, diversity in this country, where are we in terms of really seeing Canadians as just very multicultural and having a place that's a sense of home in that context.
All right, so I understand that you talk to Black girls all over the country. So what kind of questions were you asking them?
Well, we started with Black girls in the GTA, so focusing on the GTA and then also Vancouver. So we were looking at funding which we received from the social services, like sort of social science and humanities council. And so we were only able to focus on those two cities, but then our goal is to sort of spread and sort of ask more questions in reference to other places in Canada. But we were asking them questions around belonging. We're asking them how they feel a sense of belonging and then sort of grounding that in concepts around home. Thinking a little bit about home and whether or not they see themselves as part of Canada or whether or not there's sort of more to their experience and their identity in this country.
Did you actually find any patterns in their answers or their perspectives that they were sharing?
Absolutely. So we did see sort of a lack of sort of connectedness to Canadianness. Part of what the project did was we had our participants work on how they see themselves as Canadian through collaging. So they were working on collages. We provided them with the content and the material, and they were able to take images that they felt like really represented their identities and how they saw themselves. And so what we would see is that there was like flags and maps from the places that their parents would come from. So there was no distinct sort of Canadianness in what they were creating in these collages. So there was a lot of commonalities amongst the participants in reference to that, for sure.
Right, so if we focus on gender, how are these experiences distinct for Black girls in particular?
So one of the things, because I've been working on research with Black girls for about a decade now, and so one of the things that continues to come up consistently is the way in which Black girls are policed that might be different from their counterparts and their peers. So thinking about it in a school system, for example, sometimes Black girls develop quickly, and so their bodies might look like they're adults, but they're actually children, and the policing of their bodies in terms of dress codes at school is one way that we see the differences for Black girls in terms of what they're experiencing. Another example that came up like around things like Black History Month in a school context, a lot of the Black girls are left with the burden to plan and to execute Black History Month activities, which is really administrative work. So thinking about it from a gendered perspective, a lot of the girls are sort of left with like creating activities and implementing that within the school system. And so see, these are some of the disparities that we see that they have to, which really leads us into this adultification, which is where children are treated like adults even though that they're children, even at any particular part of their childhood.
So were there any changes between how you grew up as a young Black girl in Canada and what you found speaking to these young women today?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the major sort of surprises that I had is the use of language. These Black girls are so sophisticated in terms of how they can describe their experiences and what they're going through. So thinking about myself growing up, I don't think I had the language. Born and raised schools in Toronto, I didn't have the language to express what was happening. And I think this also, because of Black Lives Matter, post George Floyd, there's a lot of conversation about racism. And so they're learning the language and sort of being able to express what is taking place or what they feel about their experiences, especially within a school context. And so that's one of the biggest differences that I see. I see that we have the ability now to get the information and the perspectives from these girls and described in these really sophisticated ways so that we can understand what's happening with them.
All right, and from your research, where are Black girls turning in order to find a sense of identity?
So a lot of my research also focuses on digital media. So I'm looking at social media platforms, what they're doing on social media and how they're interacting. Unfortunately, a lot of the ills of our society, like racism and sexism, follows us on those platforms. And so their experiences in reference to trying to find spaces away from that. So they will curate their algorithms to ensure that they are not getting specific types of information coming across their social media feeds. They'll also follow, people who are doing exotic things, like off to Zanzibar and like far off places, which from an academic perspective is examples of like Afrofuturism. They're trying to create a different future outside of some of the issues and that sense of lack of belonging that they might feel, to create spaces where they feel more comfortable and they feel safer. And so some of that happens on social media platforms.
Fascinating. So what is your ultimate goal with your research, with this research?
I think as an educator, I'm an educator, I'm a teacher at heart. One of the things that I see is that our school experience is so central to how we develop and how we understand ourselves. So I'd love to see some of this research used to inform some of the policies, the curriculum, the way that teachers, administrators sort of interact with and engage with and support Black girls, and Black youth in general. So a lot of this research is focused on girls specifically, the Black Girlhood study. However, some of the research also sort of speaks to the experiences of Black boys in context to that marginalization. And if we can use this information, hear from them specifically, hear how they see themselves as Canadian or not Canadian, and sort of use that to inform how we educate and how we support Black girls, I think that would be my ultimate goal. That's my ultimate goal in terms of the research and the work that I do.
Yeah, we love that. And you know what? Thank you so much for the work that you're doing. And thank you for coming and having this very important discussion on the show. It's a pleasure to have you here, Kisha.
Thank you. Thank you.
Everybody stay right where you are. We'll be right back.
Hey, you, come a bit closer. We've got so many more must-see interviews, spicy debates, lifestyle tips, and pop culture moments. So subscribe to our channel by tapping the logo below and don't miss out.